8 regiments, 50,000 Redcoats, the most feared army on earth, marching through Massachusetts in the spring of 1775. Drums, bayonets, a river of scarlet stretching past the horizon. Nothing on this planet can stop them. And then, the sky rips open. A wall of white light swallows the valley. When it fades, 1,000 men stand on the ridge. Strange uniforms, strange weapons. Calm, quiet. United States Marines. The year they came from? 2025. 2 armies, 2.5 centuries apart. 1 valley. And in the next 12 hours, one of them stops existing. So let's actually break this down, because the numbers tell one story. The battlefield tells another. Start with the British. 50,000 soldiers, iron discipline. Every redcoat carries a brown Bess musket, smoothbore, flintlock. On a good day with no wind, it can hit a man at 90 meters. On a bad day, it can't hit a barn. They wear wool and a tricorn hat. No armor. Their whole system is built on one idea: stand shoulder to shoulder, fire together, and walk straight into the enemy until he breaks. Officers ride horses. Cavalry waits on the flanks. Artillery sits in the rear. For 100 years, this exact formula crushed every army it touched. So why does it fail here? Hold that thought. Now the Marines. 1,000. Each one carries an M4 carbine, 400 meters of accurate range, 300 rounds in the kit. Spread through the company, M249 light machine guns, M240 Bravos chewing through 800 rounds a minute, MK19 grenade launchers lobbing 40mm death 30 meters wide, body armor that shrugs off rifle rounds, helmets with optics, night vision. One Marine in 60 seconds puts more lead in the air than an entire British regiment manages in 10 minutes. Let that sink in. But here's the catch, the thing that keeps this from being a slaughter on paper. The Marines have no resupply, no reinforcements. When the magazines run dry, those rifles become very expensive clubs. 1,000 men surrounded by an ocean of 50,000. The clock is the real enemy. And it's already ticking. The Marine commander reads the ground in seconds. The ridge gives him height. 300 meters of open field below. Nowhere to hide for anyone climbing it. So they dig. Sandbags stack into machine gun nests. Riflemen lock their fields of fire together so every meter of that slope is covered by 2 guns at once. Every rock, every bush gets a number. A range, a kill zone. They aren't building a defense. They're building a meat grinder. Down in the valley, the British general lifts his glass to his eye. His officers whisper caution. Unknown enemy, strange uniforms. Maybe wait, maybe scout. But the general has won dozens of battles. His redcoats have never broken. And he's looking at 1,000 men against his 50,000. To him, this isn't a battle, it's an execution. He gives the order. Bugles scream, drums roll. 50,000 men start walking up the hill. They have no idea they're already dead. 200 meters, the formation is perfect, tight, proud. Then a single crack splits the air. 500 meters away, a Marine designated marksman exhales and squeezes. The British general is on horseback, gold braid catching the light, impossible to miss. The round takes him out of the saddle before the sound even reaches his men. Confusion ripples down the line. Who fired? From where? There's no smoke, no enemy in sight, just a dead general. 150 meters, the M249s open up. Low, controlled bursts, skimming under the smoke, tearing into legs and bellies. Redcoats fold. But the line holds. Steps over the bodies, keeps coming. Because that's the training. That's the whole point of them. 80 meters now, and then the M240 Bravos wake up. Here's something the British have never seen. A single 7.62 round leaves that barrel at 840 meters a second. At 80 meters, it doesn't stop at one man. It punches through him, and the man behind him, and the man behind that one. 4 bodies per bullet. The front rank doesn't fall. It vanishes. 1 second it's there, the next it's a red mist and a gap. Now, you'd expect the British to break right here. They don't. And this is where it gets interesting. These are professionals. 200 years before anyone said the word doctrine, they already understood that standing in the open is suicide. Officers scream new orders. Break up, spread out, use the ground. The neat formation shatters into dozens of small squads scrambling for rocks and dead trees. On the left, the cavalry wheels wide, 200 riders trying to loop around and hit the Marines from behind. For the first time all day, the Americans face a real tactical problem. Squad leaders call it out. 2 squads shift. The M240 swings left. And here come the horses. Full gallop. Sabers up. 70 meters. 50. The gunner doesn't flinch. At this range, armor is a costume. The gun opens up and the charge simply ends. Horses scream and tumble. Riders fold over their saddles. And here's the brutal irony. The wall of dead horses and men becomes cover for the next British wave. Because the British have stopped charging. Now they're advancing. And that's far more dangerous. Squad by squad, rock by rock, they crawl up the slope. They trade 10 dead for 50 meters of ground. Then 5 more dead for 30 meters closer. It's grinding. It's patient. It's working. And it's eating the Marines' ammunition alive. The M240 drums run dry and get swapped. M4 mags come off the chest rig faster and faster. Brass piles up around boots. 2 hours in, the Marines have burned 110,000 rounds. They've got maybe 6 hours left at this pace. And behind the first wave, fresh regiments, untouched, waiting to step over their own dead. The commander does the math. He doesn't like the math. At this rate, the British reach his line in 4 hours, down to a single magazine each. Then it's bayonets and rifle butts. 1,000 men, against 30,000 still standing. He keeps his face calm, but he knows, right now, on this ridge, time is on the Redcoats' side. Night falls. Torches bloom across the valley floor, and the British command makes a cold, smart decision. No more piecemeal attacks. At dawn, they hit the ridge with everything. Tight columns, maximum mass. Yes, they'll bleed crossing the open ground. But if even a fraction reaches the top, the bayonet has shattered better men than these. They've done the same math the Marine did, and they like their answer. On the ridge, it's silent. The platoon sergeant walks the line in the dark, checks weapons, counts. 12 magazines a man. The grenade launchers are dry. The M240s are down to defensive fire only. There is no clever plan for dawn. There is only hold until the guns go quiet. And then a radio crackles. A voice that shouldn't exist out here. A special operations team, satellite link, with 3 words that change everything. Apache's inbound, 40 minutes. Help is coming. The question is whether dawn comes first. 0500, the British move. 50,000 men poured into massed columns, advancing through the last of the dark. And the Marines do something simple and terrifying. They switch to tracer. Every 5th round burns red in flight. To a man raised on musket flame, the ridge erupts into a storm of red lightning. Lines of fire reaching out and touching men who fall before they hear the shot. The front of the column wavers. Soldiers stop. Officers shove them forward with drawn swords. They push another 50 meters into the impossible. And then the valley starts to vibrate. 3 shapes rise over the ridge. Not birds, not anything these men have words for. Apache gunships, descending like something out of a nightmare. The 30mm cannons spin up. Thermal sights paint every warm body in the dark. They don't fire randomly. They fire like surgeons. One burst, 30 men gone. Another burst. A whole column folds. The officers who screamed at their men to hold the line lose their heads where they stand. 30 seconds. That's all it takes. 30 seconds and 50,000 of the bravest soldiers of their age turn and run. The Apaches don't let them. They chase the retreat down the valley, cannons and hellfires raining down. Supply wagons explode. Artillery vanishes in fire. Colonels are dead. Majors have no orders. The chain of command just dissolves. A disciplined army becomes a panicking mob in minutes. And the Marines? They leave the ridge. They go hunting. But watch how they do it, because this is the whole lesson of the day. No glorious charge, no tight ranks. Small squads, leapfrogging forward, one firing while the other moves. The M4 reaches out and drops redcoats long before a musket can answer. 1,000 Americans systematically take apart an army 50 times their size. Flank, suppress, advance, repeat. By noon, the valley floor is carpeted in scarlet. The last 12,000 make a stand by a river. Muskets up, ready for a fight that's already over. The Marines stop at 800 meters, out of musket range, completely. And they fire in disciplined volleys, the kind the redcoats themselves invented, except every volley erases 30, 40 men at a time. The British officers order a bayonet charge, 300 meters of open ground against rifles that don't miss. The first charge gets halfway. The second doesn't form, because the men who'd lead it are already dead. And then the muskets start hitting the dirt. Hands go up. 12,000 men, surrounded, disarmed, broken, standing in a riverbed while gunships circle overhead. The battle is over. So let's count the cost. 50,000 British soldiers marched in. 12,000 walked out as prisoners. 38,000 fell. The Marines lost 73, almost all of them in the first hour, to massed musket volleys before the range opened up. Do the math, and it's roughly 520 redcoats for every Marine. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That number isn't about courage. The British had courage to spare. It's about a rifle that outranges a musket 4 to 1, hits 10 times more accurately, carries 10 times the ammunition. The discipline didn't matter. The numbers didn't matter. The adaptation, going from formation to dispersed assault in a single afternoon, brilliant as it was, didn't matter. The gap was just too wide. And that's the real lesson, deeper than firepower. The British Army of 1775 was the most advanced fighting force on the planet. Nobody on Earth could match its discipline, its logistics, its leadership. And it was helpless. Because some technology gaps can't be closed by being braver or smarter. Armies have caught up before. The Mongols took the enemy's cannon. The Ottomans embraced the musket. But those were small steps across a few generations. This wasn't a step. It was 2.5 centuries in one morning. You don't adapt to that. You just die a little slower. But before you close the tab, sit with one last question. Did the Marines actually win? On this day, yes, completely. But the portal stayed shut. The helicopters had fuel. The math worked out. Leave that portal open. Send regiment after regiment, week after week. Eventually, the magazines run dry. Eventually, the Apaches run out of sky. Eventually, 1,000 men, no matter how lethal, get buried under a tide that never stops coming. Technology wins the fight. It doesn't always win the war. The redcoats who ran that morning weren't cowards. They ran because they finally understood they were fighting an enemy they could not touch. Be honest. In their boots, staring up at a ridge spitting red lightning and demons falling from the sky. Would you have done any better? This was just the opening scenario. Next time, 1,000 medieval knights against 10,000 modern soldiers, a Spartan phalanx against a mechanized platoon, Vikings against special forces. Comment which one you want to see. Like if you'd watch Marines take on samurai. The simulation ends here. History doesn't.